Test 1, 2. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
We'll
the
wing
beard.
it.
What do you do when you're over for dinner at somebody's house and they make soup and you don't want to be rude, but you're like, all right, man, here we go.
You start with a spoon. And you sort of take assessment of where you are.
Yeah.
And then eventually just, either put the ball on the top lip and commit to it, or
Like a like a cappuccino.
kind of like a cappuccino,
Yeah.
or you keep it back. You just with your hand.
Were you inspired? I mean, I don't know. Like, what's the commitment level? Like, how much longer are you gonna have that thing?
So I had it for a long time, as you know, and then 2 years ago I shaved out of a whim.
Yeah.
Because the promise that I made to myself is that I wouldn't shave until the PhD was obtained.
Till you got the PhD
Yeah, I
in
got
the hand.
PhD.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would do the walk, get hooded, and then shave. And 2 years ago I caved in, shaved. I resisted 2 months, and then I just took the razor and tossed it and went back to this.
Fuck. Is it easier or harder?
To shave is hard. I mean, I hate it.
Yeah.
I just hate
I mean, is it easier to shave or is it easier to not shave and just have to deal with beard and a soup?
I haven't been having a lot of soup. Let's put it that way.
It's summertime. Hopefully not.
Exactly.
I just saw recently the Water Ski podcast.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, is this going to be a thing? If it is, what are you going to focus on?
Right.
What's kind of going to be the topic of the day, or is it going to be fluid and kind of what people want? Kind of crowdsource.
It's so I've been thinking about this for 2 or 3 months, and I was like, well, there isn't really like a audio only once a week kind of podcast, and it came like I had 2 months of you can imagine like overthinking about it until I said, well, screw it, I'm doing it. And the 4 topics I have in mind so far is going to be either just me rambling about skiing, or interviewing people in the sport, skiers, judges, tournament organizers, newbies, whoever. Then I'll try to bring in my background in sports psychology and try to do some very applied, into the sport.
Yep.
And then people have been sending in questions, so every now and then I'll just do an episode like answering some questions that people may have.
I think that's good. I mean, just you and I being friends and kind of working together off and on over the years, I think your value, obviously first and foremost, is you're on both sides of the field, more or less, or you're on and off the field. In other words, you have a wealth of knowledge and experience in the sports psychology field that goes above and beyond almost anybody else I know, and you're still doing it. You just skied today. Talk about that real quick. Let's talk about first round today.
Yeah,
at the ProAm.
First round ProAm. It's been pretty windy today, but nothing, unskiable or anything. Went in confident. Been skiing on this new ski for like 10 days, and it feels amazing. Everything good until 38, 39, not the best one, but I got into 2 like, I'm just going to reset here and continue the pass. And I threw my hand into the handle. So I basically pulled to 3 with a hand and a wrist. And at 3, I sort of re-grabbed the handle somehow and zigzagged. So 3 at 39, not the best given that here it's a tournament average. So I'll have to ski some mad buoys in 40 minutes to try and make it tomorrow.
If you were your own student, what would you tell yourself after that ski ride? If you were counseling or coaching yourself, what do you tell yourself coming out of the water, running 4 or 5 or 6 buoys less than you planned on running?
Yeah. Well, the thing there is like quick assessment and let go, right? And it's kind of easier to reassess in this situation because...
What do you mean?
Well, it was just a freaky thing, right? Like handing the handle. When is that ever going to happen?
Yeah.
I could think, okay, well, I'm going to approach the gate a little different at 39, but gate and 1 were good enough, just a freaky little accident.
Margin for error at 39. Seems like 10 years ago, there was less margin for error. I attribute that personally, just my take is that skiers are better now. Like technique and equipment, obviously, but nowadays, like some of those 39s we saw run today, there's big mistakes made. and people still ran them. What do you think is the reason for that huge margin of error that we can see now, and people still can run short line passes?
Well, you'll have to help me with this, but it seems to me like now people are skiing more tournaments. And so they get in a position to having to run 39 no matter what more times. And then they break through and they do it even with huge mistakes. And all of a sudden it becomes like, self-evident that it's possible.
Yeah.
And so you go in more confident into the next ball, even if you made a big mistake before.
So what's a takeaway for the average skier? Just like try to ski a few more tournaments and put yourself in the kind of a pressure cooker situation where you have to perform?
Yeah, for sure. And not always, but really try to emulate those tournament scenarios, right? So I do it when I coach. I do it to someone who's running into 22 off. I know kind of like how they ski, and I'll say, okay, we are at States, say, and you're top 10 if you do 3 at 22 off the dock. Let's go. What are you gonna start at? How are you gonna approach this pass?
Yeah.
So you can never emulate tournament fully, but practicing you can.
Yeah. So what's your goal? Like, let's just take a step back. You've been skiing professionally for a while. Your also main focus has been to get your PhD in psychology. In 3 years from now, where do you want to be ideally? What personally, like?
Yeah. So I want to be home.
Yep.
The last 2 or 3 years, it became clear to me that I want to move back to Italy.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with a PhD in my hand.
Yeah.
And I like to open private practice at home and work. Like my ideal day is I see a water skier, a football player, basketball player, canoe athlete, and a boxer. So really being on my toes at all times. Variety. Yeah, for sure. I'm also going to be even more involved with the ski school we have in Italy. But of course there it's a very seasonal job because then it gets cold.
Yep.
So as the season fades away, I would accept more clients.
So have you worked with athletes from other sports?
Yeah.
Okay. How does water skiing stack up or compare to like more mainstream sports as far as the amount of mental precision required as well as skill level?
Yeah.
Compared to other sports. Do you have a good sense for that? Like
Yeah.
personally, you don't have to be clinical, just your own personal opinion.
Yeah, I get it. I think, I look at it like every sport is mental, but it's how is it mental, right? And I think out of the sports, the mainstream sports that I can compare the most would be probably some track event where it's very, say like pole vaulting. It's very technical. You do get some tries, right?
Yep.
But it's extremely technical, and one mistake or two, you're done.
You're done. Yeah.
Of course, snow skiing is the easiest comparison apart from the technique. Even just like you do a mistake in snow skiing, you're done.
You're done. Yep.
And it's extremely technical. But what I love about it in the field is that everyone is different. Every sport is different, but provided you learn the language of the sport, then you can communicate with the athlete and try to understand what the mental challenges are for that particular sport.
Yeah.
So the mental challenges in golf are as big of challenges as in water skiing, but they're just completely different.
Totally different.
Totally different.
But there's got to be some fundamentals that span all human performance arenas, right?
Yeah, so the ability to handle emotions. I would say pre-performance preparation, right? Yep. Which every sport has pre-performance routines and preparations because there needs to be a starting point.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, some sports have more like in-performance preparation, so like pre-shot routines or,
Yeah.
If you think about one of the fascinating things about, say, golf or tennis is that you're playing a fraction of the actual time of the match.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And what do you do in that time off? It's a world of possibilities.
So how does that relate to skiing? Because you're skiing for 16, 17, 18 seconds, in the course, and then you've got a minute plus on each end.
Yeah.
If you're cutting line in a tournament, so that's got to be kind of similar. Like what would you say to skiers if they haven't even thought about that yet, what kind of optimization could they be thinking about, or tips to optimize their downtime, if you will, between passes to try to get them to perform closer to their potential?
Well, I think, of course, the classic psychologist question, like, answer is it depends. But like, say, you know, you have that skier that like gets into tournament or like even just in practice overthinks everything. So obviously, from a motor perspective, you have a huge problem because you're not flowing and you're not being automatic. But for that kind of skier, what I would say is you find a way to get your mind off of the pass ASAP as soon as you drop. So if you're one of those skiers that like banters with the driver, or you know,
something different take you there.
Like it readjust your glove or whatever. Look around, you know.
You ever see 10 Cup, the movie, with Kevin Costner and Cheech Marin? It's good. There's a scene in there I think you might like.
Okay.
It's just about like that exact thing, like stupid, arbitrary, random tricks to get your mind off of this negative feedback loop. Or falling into that negative feedback trap.
And the trick there that often works a lot is to bring your attention externally, right? So it could be like you're talking to someone, or you're looking at your glove. You're really trying to use your senses to avoid having cognitive activity.
For sure.
Right.
So after this, Malibu,
yeah. Friday and Saturday.
Okay. If it's not flooded.
Well,
from Dorian.
It will. I haven't received any news about it.
Okay.
You know, I'm hoping the tournament happens.
Still on.
So far. Happy to be back. I was there 2 years ago and was first out of the final, but skied very well. I'm excited to go and do my best.
I mean, you had an injury some years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and you told me last weekend. Was it last weekend?
Last weekend.
Last weekend, on the new Omega,
Mm-hmm.
you had a look at 3 at 41. So that's kind of where I would say your baseline is. Like today, you're 5 or 6 buoys down.
Yeah.
You know, because you put your arm through the handle and you flew all the way across the country. But that's kind of where you should be if you're skiing to your potential. And who knows where beyond that, because we know you can be deadly, dude. You're strong. You got a 2-4 turn like almost nobody else in the business. So, I mean, today, second round coming up.
Yeah.
What's your goal going out there?
I want to explode. Like wherever I go, if it's 3 at 41, like I'm just gonna give my all, because by now I have no other choice.
Yep. We'll explain why, because it's cumulative today.
Yeah. So it's cumulative. So it's the average of the 2 scores that makes it through, and there's already like 10 scores at 41 after first round. So for me to ski 3 at 41, which I haven't done in 5 years, I would have an average of 0 at 41. So I'm kind of like,
and who knows, that could do something.
That could do something.
Yeah.
But instead of going in sort of like cautious, you know, by now I just have nothing to lose. So I'm just gonna attack, like I think I was doing. Like I was skiing well. Like it wasn't the best one. I got to 2. This ski has given me, within the span of 10 days, a ton of confidence into my 2-4. So I pull into 2 thinking, okay, we reset here and we're going down the pass.
Yeah.
And just misgrabbed. You know?
It happens, especially in the big events.
Yeah.
How important is confidence in water skiing?
Huge. And I knew it before I got into this field, and I realize now how insane it is. How insanely important it is.
Well, dude, I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to your podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. Let's maybe do another one. I don't know if tonight, later on.
Whenever you want,
just
man.
keep sitting down. We can link it all together.
This is comfortable. I'm liking this.
It's cushy, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, if we weren't playing footsies and my slider was out, you know, if my motorhome didn't break down, we'd be good. But it's fun. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for joining me, buddy. Yeah.
Of course.
All right.
Pleasure.
Sweet, man.
Oh, easy, man. Easy.